Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Secure AI series. Today is a very, very fun episode, episode 7 of the actual series. We're talking about mapping, protecting, and governing our data, right, for AI. Okay, and again, of course, you are all very, very welcome, and I hope you have learnings from videos like this. So with that being said, we'll kick off with the agenda, and you'll be very pleased to know that the agenda only has two. Okay, we're going to talk about future-proofing our AI roadmap, using and talking about DSPM for AI, and then quick wins for organizations, right, and how you can get this up and running, right. And again, this is foundational, right. The idea is that we can enable organizations to take the first step, whether you're a customer, whether you're working internally. Okay, it's all very, very simple once you know the way. Okay, so again, we'll be hopping into our trusted CDX environment, and I'll show you exactly how to use the DSPM for AI tool within Purview and how simple it actually is to just get set up. Okay, and as the series progresses, of course, we'll be doing more advanced demos, talk about how we can connect it to the XDR portal and making sure that we can get different various alerts from Defender and rolling our devices in. Okay, it's going to be very, very cool. So that being said, what is DSPM for AI? So we have 4 really strong bullet points here that I think sum up exactly what DSPM for AI is. Okay, so the first one, continuously discover and classify our data. Okay, so DSPM, it gives us full visibility. Right, it scans across M365, it can do Azure, it can do AWS, it can do various SaaS environments depending on what data connectors you have set up. And keep in mind, this is Microsoft's golden boy, okay? So they're actually continuously updating this tool. I think by 2026, next year of March, they're going to be doing prompt protection. Okay, now again, I'm very conscious when I talk about stuff in preview for Microsoft because they can pull it last minute, they can make adjustments. So just keep that in mind, and for your own learning as well, when you are looking at Microsoft documentation or you are looking at Microsoft's roadmap, okay, just take it with a grain of salt because within AI and within the cybersecurity industry, things can change quite fast. Okay, so with that being said, also the goal is to build a clear map, right, of where our sensitive data and our sensitive information as well lives before AI, or I guess in our case, Copilot, can even touch it. Okay, and that leads us on to mapping. Okay, so map who has access and how data is shared. Okay, so where the exposure actually is. So once there's visibility there, right, DSPM can look at various accesses and various sharing and what users are actually doing. It basically tells us who has permissions, how information is being shared internally. Okay, and that's really important to know, or externally, right, depending on where the information is going. And basically we can see, right, what's the potential risk here. Okay, and that's really important when we talk about AI and AI frameworks. Okay, moving away from the technical side of things, when a company is looking at their AI framework, they have to understand, right, how much visibility do we have on our data? How much visibility do we have of our framework, right? What type of framework are we looking to develop here? So if you can prevent AI from surfacing or summarizing the wrong content, you're already off to an amazing start. Okay, and then that leads us on to evaluation. Okay, so if there's misconfigurations, if there's permission settings that are set up incorrectly, and it actually monitors data flow within real time, and again, using DLP, using classification, which we've discussed in our previous episodes, it all feeds into the same pot. Okay, so when DSPM, what it does is it brings it all together. Okay, so when you're looking at your data governance and you're looking at your behavior analytics, it can highlight early signs of risky AI interactions. Because again, prevention is the best cause, right, for intervention. Okay, the idea of how we stop data breaches, right, AI, prompt injection, all that good stuff, right? Prevention is key. Okay, we don't want to handle the risk when the risk has already happened. We don't want to handle the breach when the breach has already happened. Right, we don't want to isolate a person because they've been phished, or isolate a device because it's had malware infected. Right, in my opinion, yes, these stuff it happens. Right, we don't live in a perfect world, but if we can look at prevention, especially in this case with AI, right, we're already off to an amazing start, and that's what DSPM really is really strong at. Right, it's there for prevention, it's there for monitoring. Okay, and again, going back to linking trust and governance insights, right, it brings it all together. Okay, so we can highlight early signs of if people are, I wouldn't even say if there's malicious intent behind it, right? If people are just getting carried away, right? What we have to understand is we are now living in a generation, right, where young adults are graduating college, they've used AI in college, right? We have teenagers, we've young people who are going to grow up with this technology. Okay, so as an employer, as a company, when we're bringing these graduates on and we're bringing these people on, they're going to expect to be using AI. Right, like there's no point blocking it at a network level, right? I know myself, if I was coming from college, right, and I've been using AI tools, whether it's Claude, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Copilot, whatever it is, and I go into an organization and they say, yeah, no, you can't use AI, we blocked it, we've no security measure. The only security measure we have in place is that we blocked it at a network level. In my opinion, that's not good enough. because there's technology there to enable people, right, to use their basic tools effectively, right, in addition to using AI tools, right, alongside their current legacy tools in an organization, and it's there to work in tandem, and it's there to monitor, and it's there to protect. Okay, and I guess a summary line of what DSPM is, right, is that it's like switching on the lights before AI walks in. Okay, so it helps you see exactly what data exists, who has that data, and where it's actually traveling to, right? And more importantly, is that data ready for AI use? Again, we talk about Copilot, we talk about large language models, right? Let's talk about agents, right? We're using data to build our agents, whether it's in Copilot Studio, a low-code platform, a different third-party software provider, right, that allows you to build agents. It doesn't matter. Okay, the fact is we know that our data is protected and we know who's using our data as well. Okay, so not to sound like a broken record, right, but why do organizations need visibility? Okay, so kind of what I've said before, right, AI prompting reveals what users seek. Okay, so without visibility, right, as an organization or as an individual, right, as a customer, whatever your use case may be, right, for looking into data in general, right, you cannot see what users are asking for AI if you're not able to do that, right? And that can be sensitive information, it could be internal documents, it could be whatever the case may be, right? It's not good enough, right? If every organization knows that people are using AI, okay, whether it's Copilot, whether it's ChatGPT, right, whatever the case may be, we have data to back that up. Okay, as I said before in previous episodes, according to the MIT report, right, 90% of people are using shadow AI. Okay, 40% of organizations worldwide have bought enterprise licensing, whether it's ChatGPT Enterprise or Copilot, M365, whatever the case may be. But 90% of people, of users, I should say, are using shadow AI. Okay, that's data. That's from MIT. Okay, we can't just it's not good enough to say, yeah, I know people are using AI, but we have no visibility into it. The technology is there. Okay, I want to emphasize that the technology is there so that we can look at prompting, we can look at and see what people are doing. Okay, and again, when not just prompting, right? If a user uploads or shares a reference, right, across M365 or Teams or SharePoint sites, right, we can use a DSPM to identify that, right, and which of those documents contain sensitive data, right, and which of those documents are already protected as well. Okay, so DSPM is doing a great job, and again, it needs a bit more work, okay, but Microsoft are getting there in terms of a reporting perspective, right, and allowing users to just visualize, how their data is flowing and how it's interacting with AI, okay. I do think that Purview does need to come a long way from a reporting perspective, but again, Microsoft are doing their best to get to that point, right? And they're taking feedback, right, from the professionals and what customers are seeing and what people in the industry are seeing as well, right? So the change is positive, right? Especially for 2026 as well. I'm really excited to see how Purview adapts, right, to protecting AI and also from a reporting perspective as well. But again, on the topic of protection, right, you can't protect what you can't see. Okay, so AI readiness for your organization, AI adoption for your organization depends on you knowing where your data lives, okay, and who can access that data, right, and also how it's being used, right? So that's the idea of DSPM. It's to grant visibility, right, to enable AI adoption, right, as an organization. And I guess quick wins, okay, for organizations. Again, I think these are realistic. Again, I'm always open to being challenged, but we need to establish an AI governance, right? We need to have that as a baseline, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a small group, all right, or it's a small team, right, to basically define who owns that AI risk within that team and what use cases can be approved as well, right? But also what data sources Copilot or other AI tools that are being used in the organization can access. Okay, so you just create a structure, and again, you don't have to look at the entire organization, right? Initially, right? If you're a massive organization with huge amounts of data, just take a department, build a team, right? Look for champions, and I'm a big fan of champions because I'll be very, very honest with everyone, right? Throughout this series, okay, there are no experts, right? Unless you're talking to professors maybe who have studied this technology for years, because AI or machine learning has been around for decades. Okay, this isn't some brand new technology. Okay, but get champions in your organization to own this governance, to own this framework. And so, yeah, I'm going to put my hand up here. Okay, I'm going to define who owns the risk. I'm going to define, okay, what data should the AI have access to, what data should it not have access to, and I'm going to define it for my team, and then I'm going to template that throughout the rest of the business. Okay, and then from that, you can then run a controlled pilot, or you can do a very, very light touch POC, right, and get your outcomes. Okay, so again, as I said, you can start with one department, use labeling, use DLP, because again, when we're talking about Copilot, it interacts with the user's graph. So any security, policies that you build in Purview, Copilot will behave and Copilot will respect those policies. Okay, and it's important that we scope those policies again on point one to our AI governance baseline framework. Okay, and again, whether that's for marketing or sales or finance or HR, right? Just pick a spot, right, and go from there. And then finally, DSPM for AI, right? What it does once you have those security policies in place, you can feed that into the actual technology, and you can get security reviews. You can see dashboards about policy updates, which is really really cool. You can also treat it as a way to control and monitor, and also inform your team, right? Who's using what, or who's using what AI tool. Okay, because I think, and I have to quote this from Jason Huang of NVIDIA. I think he said it in an interview. Well, he did say it in an interview, especially agentic AI. What's going to happen is the IT team for most organizations are now going to become the HR team, right? Because they're going to have to monitor these agents. They're going to have to monitor what information, right, is being fed into these agents, right, and how these agents store this information and where this information actually goes. Okay, so it's very, very important, right, that organizations have an AI governance baseline so that they can use this technology, right, to further their own operational agenda. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to hop into our CDX environment as per usual, right? I'm going to show you the tool. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up, right? Literally with 2 clicks of a button from a foundational perspective, okay? Obviously, if you want to get more advanced reporting, we need to set up data connectors and we need to do a bit more work. But again, we'll cover that as this series progresses. So with that being said, we'll hop into our demo environment. Okay guys, here we are in the trusted CDX environment, and of course the DSPM for AI tool within Purview. Now you'll notice here that this is very raw, okay? It's very blank, it's very bare, and again, it makes sense because it's foundational video and also it's a CDX portal, right? So I've not configured anything here, just for demonstration purposes, okay? But what we need to focus on, okay, and all we need to focus on, right, for this video, and again, we'll do a separate video on this actual tool as well and actually go through it in a more detailed capacity. But we look at the Get Started tab, okay? Activate the Microsoft Purview audit. Okay, now this is literally click of a button and you're done. You can actually check the audit and the actual settings in the audit here. And if it's turned on, then you won't see a blue bar at the top, right, which will tell you to turn it on. So we always activate that Purview audit because it gives us that snail trail and it allows us to see who did what, when it was done. Okay, it gives us that full insight. Okay guys, so once we've activated the audit, we can then look at installing the browser extensions. And the browser extension is a nice way to monitor, sensitive prompting or sensitive information that people are uploading to AI sites on their browser. Okay, now you can push it via Intune or via GPO, depending on how you push policies in your organization. Okay, but Microsoft provides you Learn documentation in terms of how you set that up. Okay, and it's as simple as one click, right, and then you can get to the Learn documentation there, and it will tell you exactly how to set it up. Okay, so it's very, very useful. I think I'm a big fan of it. Okay, I've done it for a lot of customers, and it gives us nice reporting insights as well, because we all know the world goes beyond Copilot. Okay, and as I've said in previous episodes as well, right, onboarding devices to Microsoft Purview, because obviously AI can be at the endpoint. Okay, so with this feature, right, we can not only monitor like on the cloud, but we can actually look at the endpoint devices and what people are doing on those endpoint devices as well, which is really, really cool. So my advice to this, and again, Microsoft recommend it as well, is that we enroll them into Defender for Endpoint first, because if they're in Defender for Endpoint, they'll show up in Purview under your managed devices. And again, Microsoft provide us with Learn documentation, how to do this, okay, a step-by-step guide. But the big one that I want to talk about, okay, and it's last but not least, right? Extend their insights for data discovery, right? So this is actually how we get most of our reporting here from a foundational level. So we can see that nothing is set up because these policies aren't turned on. But essentially, it gives us 3 policies, right? And they're pretty self-explanatory. And these are DLP policies. So again, if you're unsure about what DLP is, how it works, go back through the series, look for the episode where we talk about DLP, because again, we can now link our learnings from previous episodes into, right, this current episode and how all of this technology feeds together. Okay, so when we're looking at gaining visibility into browsing and sensitive prompting in other AI apps, right, we can get insights, right? So when we look at each of the baseline or the out of the box, right, policies that Microsoft recommend, again, they're quite self-explanatory. The text-sensitive info shared in AI prompts in Edge, okay, and then it gives you a quick description as well. So the text prompt sent to generative AI apps in Microsoft Edge and discover sensitive information shared in prompt contents, okay. Detect when users visit AI sites, okay, so again, this is an insider risk management policy, which again, we'll do a later episode on because it's a very, very nice tool. But essentially, you can detect when people visit those AI sites as well. And then last but not least, detect sensitive info pasted or uploaded to AI sites. So this is really our crown jewels, right? And where DSPM really kicks in and really gives us visibility. And of course, we'll be doing a detailed episode about what that actually looks like. Okay, but again, it's a data loss prevention policy, and you can basically discover sensitive content that's pasted or uploaded in Microsoft Edge, Chrome, and Firefox to AI sites as well. Okay, so how easy is it? Well, it's literally a click of a button, right? Create policies. Now, one thing to note, and again, these policies are baseline, okay? They're not tailored, right? Specifically for every organization, okay? So when I hit create policy, right, it will take a moment, right, for this to get up and running. But we have to then check what the policy is actually doing. We have to go into data loss prevention, right? Because when we're looking at, well, sensitive information, like how does this know, what sensitive information is being uploaded? And again, it depends what sits you configured. It depends what classifiers you have up and running. So once these policies are created, please go into the DLP section, right? Please go into the insider risk section, go to the rules, right? And see what the policy is actually doing, right? See where it's being enabled. Okay, by default, these policies don't have actions or drastic actions enabled where people are going to be blocked, right? So the policies are made. So as an example, right, let's go to DLP and let's see what a policy actually does. Okay, guys, so we are in our DLP policy section. As you can see, just a few random policies here, but if we notice at the bottom, DSPM for AI detects sensitive info added to AI sites. Okay, so the sync is in progress. Again, these policies can take up to 24 hours to actually detect anything, just for your own organization, if you're wondering why it's not picking up on anything. Okay, but when we actually go in and we can see the description, okay, so discover sensitive content pasted or uploaded in Microsoft Edge, Chrome, and Firefox, okay, like we saw previously. So let's actually edit this, okay, and let's actually see, well, what have Microsoft done by default, okay? So we can go past the name, we can go past the description, admin units will be empty, okay? The locations, this is actually just scoped to our devices, okay? So a lot of people, they get confused because they turn on this policy, right? And they're like, well, I can't see anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, this policy is useless. Like, I don't know what people are doing. And it's like, well, have you enrolled your devices in Defender for Endpoint? Well, no, I haven't done that. Well, then there you go, right? That's where you're not seeing anything. So it's very important that we read the documentation, okay? And we make sure that we have all the prerequisites set up so that DSPM for AI can really shine, okay? So again, once the devices are enrolled and that's all good and dandy, if we go next here, because I want to have a look at the rule, all right? I want to actually see what is this doing, okay? So we can see, right, Microsoft have classified, or I guess stated, that all of this information is sensitive, right? And all of this information needs to be picked up in this DSPM for AI policy because it's classified as sensitive information. And that's what a lot of people or a lot of customers will come to me, right, that have set this up and they're like, well, I'm getting reports on, Australian bank account numbers, and I don't really care about that. Like, I want to see usernames, I want to see passwords, I want to see customer projects that we've made, and we want to make sure are protected. So we need to go into the policy. We need to make sure that the policy is tailored for our organization. Okay, and again, like previous learnings, right, I've shown how to actually edit a rule in a DLP policy. So please watch that episode, take the learnings, transfer it to an episode like this, and you'll be very, very good to go. Okay, so if we close down the conditions here for a second and we have a look at the actions. Okay, so typically when we're looking at a policy scope to endpoint devices, we have an audit or restrict activity on the device. Okay, so I'll cover this in more detail in a later session. Okay, so that was looking at the rule, right, from a very high level. We can even see here kind of breaking down the rule, right, when we just kind of take a step back. We can see that all of this information, guys, right, a lot of people don't care about it. A lot of customers don't care about it. So it's important to know when you're making these policies, DSPM for AI, you tailor it to your own specific needs. Now, again, it could be nice to get reporting back just from a general sense and you can see what's happening. Okay, but the most important thing, and again, I'll go back at the policy to show us, is that the actions are off, right? People aren't affected. People aren't, there is no activity or action being taken place on the employee where they can't do their jobs. Because again, not to go off topic, but when we look at DLP, when we look at labeling, when we look at security, we're there to protect our organization while enabling our users to work more efficiently, right? And that's going to be very, very important in the AI conversation as well from an adoption perspective, right? We don't want security to slow down adoption. We want it to enable organizations to move faster and adopt new technologies quicker and more safer. Okay, guys, so that concludes episode 7. And again, we're just looking at the technology from a basic foundational level, understanding how it works. And as the series progresses, as I always say, right, we're going to get into some more advanced demos. Okay, so I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you took some learnings from it, okay, especially around the visibility and how important it is, right? Especially when you're looking at an AI framework or you're looking to build out an adoption framework within your own organization. The technology exists, right? And it's there to help us. So thank you very much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.